We're now going to look at another example of identity-based style shifting that doesn't really come under the umbrella of accommodating one's conversational partner. This is a study of Oprah Winfrey's use of monophthongal ah in place of mainstream American English I. Oprah uses ah and I variably. And the study was done in 1999. So here's a clip from Oprah's show, AM Chicago, where she's interviewing Jackie Collins. You can get a sense of what she sounded like around this time.
Thank you very much. The Hollywood Wives miniseries that aired in February was viewed by millions of Americans, was the #1 series in the country. And my guest this morning says, honey, she knows what goes on between the sheets of Hollywood's top stars and producers, who's sleeping with whom, when they change bed partners, and all of that stuff. Her latest novel is entitled Lucky, and she's currently working on a novel about Hollywood husbands. Will you welcome Jackie Collins? Jackie! Good to see you.
So you probably heard in there that she was using mainstream American English I in those cases. The questions that Hay et al. Wanted to ask were whether the use of ah versus I is conditioned by whether the guest she is introducing is African American. So they looked at introductions of different guests and counted which variant she used. Their other question was whether the use of ah versus I is conditioned by the frequency of the word. That is, how often in a general corpus of speech would you find that particular word? They took out 229 words from her monologues and had two raters judge whether the words contained ah or I. When they agreed they were ah, they were treated as such in the analysis, otherwise as I. So the results show an effect both for the referee, where here referee means the person being referred to, as well as for the frequency of the word. So here's a count of diphthong pronunciations of I for when Oprah is introducing an African American guest versus monophthongal, and here for non-African American guests, they have the number of diphthongs versus monophthongs. So the percent of monophthongal pronunciations for the African American, when she's introducing an African American speaker, is, African American guest, is 38%, whereas for the non-African American guest, it's just down to 10%. They also found a similar kind of effect for frequent versus not so frequent words, where monophthongs were more frequent for frequent words. They mention in their discussion that Oprah Winfrey has in the past expressed strong language attitudes disapproving of African American English. And they ask, how can we reconcile her negative attitudes towards AE with her use in referee design of a feature that's been associated with the African American English speaking community? So that's an interesting point, that sometimes people's conscious attitudes may not be reflected in their unconscious use of speech. This is a pretty clear case of non-accommodation style shift, since she's not speaking to an African American English speaker in particular, she's just referring to one. As for why more frequent words have more monophthongal pronunciations, it's worth thinking about what you think yourself that could explain that. In general, phonological changes that are of a reduction type happen more frequently in more frequent words. So this might be part of a more general phenomenon, or there might be something going on that's specific to this particular instance where the phonological feature of monophthongization is linked to a particular variety that the person is shifting in and out of.